Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of Culture Talks. Today we are. we had a hiccup before we started. Aaron started laughing, and then we all went into a fit of giggles. So we're still going with it, right? So we're episode 7, and today what we're going to do is we're going to talk with Aaron, and we're going to talk to him about the importance of your brand. Your culture is your brand, and we can't think of anybody better on this island than Aaron, because as you'll probably know, Aaron makes some fantastic content for his LinkedIn and social media platforms, but there's a lot more to him. And what we wanted to do was give Aaron an opportunity to give an introduction to himself about who he is, what he does, and we'll jump straight into it like we normally do. So Aaron, thank you very much for coming on.
No problem, thank you very much.
Give us a wee intro. Who are you? What are you about? And why do you keep laughing?
It's that cow's lick you have going on there.
You said you were going to say it on camera.
I'm just jealous because I don't have any at the minute.
Don't be jealous, Howard.
A lot of people are today.
But yes, my name's Aaron Watson. I am Northern Ireland's #1 voiceover, or so I make myself believe. And I provide on-hold messaging service to businesses in Northern Ireland. Also TV ads, radio ads, web ads, everything voiceover wise. So that's me, that's what I do. And I like to embrace it, and I like to tell people about it, and I like to preach about it, and I like to shout it from the rooftops. But of course, if you don't let people know who you are, then you become invisible. So I like to do that in my own unique way. So that's who I am and what I'm about, pretty much in a nutshell.
Excellent. And of course you do it so well, and that's why we have you here. Because when we spoke about your culture as your brand, like, you were the first person that came into our mind, and a lot of people won't think of, because you're a one-man band in a sense, that people won't think of that as a culture. But of course you are interacting with people at all times. You've different groups of people that you're working alongside and that support you as well. So the culture applies to absolutely everything. And in terms of like the business that you do, I mean, one of the things we would say is your culture is your personality, but I'm sure you're not too purposeful about thinking, oh yeah, I want to create an amazing culture. You're just yourself. You just do what you do, and you do it so well. And that works extremely well as part of your brand. Like, from the stuff that you've done on LinkedIn, for example, just to sort of give anybody listening how important it is, your personality showing through in everything that you've done. How important has that been in terms of business for you?
I think in terms of business, I also provide females from Northern Ireland, with voiceover, and Republic of Ireland, female voiceover and male voiceover, English voiceover. So when businesses come to me, they don't always want my voice, which is a bit disappointing, and sometimes I don't understand why.
I thought for a second you might be done with female voice.
No. But, so yes, working with them guys obviously is a big thing as well, because we want to be able to provide an all-round service and not just sort of narrow it down to just me or just the one voice. So when you have that variety to take to other businesses, that also opens up not just me myself, but it opens up other avenues, because you're bringing more sort of more variety and more services really to the table. I think to put yourself out there and to let people know who you are and what you do, and try and build the relationships. You've mentioned LinkedIn. It's not always just about throwing up funny videos. I think most of my videos always has a point.
Absolutely.
I hope they do.
They do.
But yeah, it's really just to try and make people aware of who I am. I know last year or we're coming into the start of this year, we started Jam Media, but I think people still, see probably my brand as me, and I think, I think you buy off people. So, you could be buying off somebody at a company now, and they could move on to a similar company, but you might then go and buy off that person that's moved on rather than the actual company. So I know probably that's the way a lot of people would work. So I think it's important to put yourself, people would say, you shouldn't use LinkedIn for personal stuff. But I think you need to let people know who you are, because, as I say, people buy people. So I like to just, when I first came to LinkedIn, I didn't want to be myself, because I felt that a couple of years ago, people would think then you weren't professional and people wouldn't want to buy off you. So I made the decision to, nervously now, because I already had some clients that were big clients in Northern Ireland. And when I came to LinkedIn, they were on LinkedIn. So my first worry wasn't that I wouldn't get business. My first worry is that I would lose business.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because I already had 2 or 3 pretty big clients, and I didn't want them to see me messing about, so to speak. But it couldn't have went any better. I was so nervous about it, and yeah, they loved it. In fact, they wind me up about it still.
See, I think that's brilliant. Like, because I mean, see, even from our perspective, anybody who we want to work with in future, like one of the main things that we'll look at is, I mean, obviously, because our focus is on culture, but one of the things that we will focus on is that their values meet our values, and I suppose that's what your fear was. Does your values come
100%.
across as different to theirs at that point, because you kind of start changing what you do? But I think it probably says a lot about them as well and their culture, because they're going to buy into that.
Yeah, that's probably the best way of saying it. Actually, I was worried then that, yeah, it is a culture thing. But yeah, I mean, I think now, I believe every person in every business you deal with, they're all individual people. They have their own families, they have their own social things that they're doing. They're actually behind these people. You see a CEO or a director or owner of a large business, and I know certainly I would have had this thing where I would have been scared to approach them, but they're just a normal person. In fact, quite often they're like so down to earth. And they actually think it's a breath of fresh air. That you're not just standing there in a 3-piece suit preaching pure driven business. You can sort of let your personality out. It works for me. I'm not saying that everybody has to do what I do, or even has to agree with what I do, but what works for me, and I enjoy doing it because it is me, and I'm not actually putting on a business front.
Yeah, I think that's really clear. Yeah, it's really clear to see. Because we're lucky enough to have got to know you over the last sort of probably year and a half, maybe more actually. And you're literally one of the most down to earth people ever. You're a wee bit of a lunatic, but so are we, and that suits us down to the ground. So anytime we meet you, like one of the first times we met you, we were laughing, and like, for instance, one of the points I wanted to make was when I was thinking about this episode, I was going, right, so culture, you are the culture, you make up the culture, and personalities make up the culture. And so when we talk about like recruiting for culture, that's one of the main points that we would make the organizations, that values and behaviors have to be incorporated into your recruitment process if you want to be able to bring right people onto your team. So it's always about adding value to the team. And I suppose it sort of sings true to whenever you take new business on, that you're recruiting business through culture, as in your culture and your personality, essentially, and what you're about. And it does have to match up to the people that you're going to be working with, because let's face it, you can work with somebody, we don't all have the same personalities, but it helps whenever you have a wee bit of a gel, when you get along and you know what it's about. And I think your videos definitely paint the picture that, you know what, I'm number one at what I do, where I live, and very far afield as well, but I'm able to have a bit of crack. And I personally think it's one of the best marketing tools you can have, because you can tell you're having fun. Like, look at your engagement. Like, you look at any video you're doing, and I've been blown away, especially in the last load of months. And I know you're one of your posts with when the lockdown kicked off, and you were out in the middle of the road. I think we were chatting in that was picked up by, was it a Portuguese marketing company or something?
That's right. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
That's unbelievable.
I can't remember exactly the island. It was some Spanish or Portuguese island that had a marketing magazine, and they posted the picture and all the details about working from home and going out in the street. Yeah, that was a bit random, but just shows you the reach you have. One thing I would say as well on LinkedIn is sometimes people think, oh, I don't get enough engagement. Quite often I get business, and build relationships from people behind the scenes. They don't
Yeah.
engage and they don't like and they don't comment and they don't do anything. But then all of a sudden, you'll get a private message, saying they've been watching what I've been doing for whatever X amount of time, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
So you get people saying, don't be put off. In other words, by maybe not getting the engagement, because actually sometimes the silent people and the lurkers are the guys that are going to do the business or build that relationship. So it's don't be put off.
I think that's an important part as well, because the two of the things that we would kind of look at as well are attracting great people and retaining great people. And in terms of attracting great people, like obviously you're not employing, but see, if you were employing, I'd imagine you'd have a queue up for people to come and work with you, because they see something that they like, something that's fun and something that they can enjoy. And I think, see, for any organization to be able to portray that would be outstanding. Now, I know you're obviously focusing yourself, so you're able to do that yourself, and it's more difficult for organizations to kind of get that out there. But the more the personality of the organization shines through, the better, because people just feel more comfortable coming in and approaching them and being part of what they have to offer. And I think that's amazing. And continuing that on, it's how you retain the people. That's how you keep them and keep them working for you. And like that's what we're trying to focus on with organizations.
Yeah, I think it's the way forward. Like a lot of times we're working with a lot of young people, especially in the age group of 18 to 24. And what we're trying to teach people is that you should get out of the mindset of I want a job, just that statement, and get into the mindset of not only do I want a job, but I want to work for a specific organization, somebody who resonates with me. And it's that once you get out of that mindset, you start focusing on where do I want to go. And it's the best organizations, the organizations that understand their culture, are the ones that can attract the best people, because when you understand your culture, you know where you're going, you know what your values are, and more importantly, you live through your values. And we were on a call recently, and it really drove home the importance of, it's one thing, everyone has heard of core values or values for an organization, and many times it's just slapped up on the wall. But whenever you portray your values in what you do and what you say, that's when people are attracted to you. And I think, Aaron, you're a perfect example of that, because you put everything out there and you're extremely professional. Like, I know we can see that highly priced camera in the background there while we're chatting, but I think we've been lucky enough to see your setup from your office at home and your studio at home, should I say, sorry. And we were blown away. And you portray your own personality. You're able to get a fine balance between professional but also natural. And I think LinkedIn, I know there's a lot of naysayers, and I know there's a lot of people, haters for lack of a better word, that are out there and they'll look at it and say, no, that's not the right way of doing it. Just because you're going against the grain doesn't necessarily mean that it's a wrong or bad thing. I think when organizations do the same thing, like I know one that always stands out to me is, Sean, you always mention Paddy Power, is it? For their social media activity, and the stuff that they say, it's like a gray area. No one knows if you're allowed to say the things that they say, but everyone loves it and it gets massive engagement. And I think that your example is a really good one of, if organizations want to attract the best people, and people who have a bit of personality and a bit of get up and go, because you definitely have a get up and go attitude. I think if they took a leaf out of your book and they were able to show their culture in a way that shows, you know what, like for Odyssey Bowl, who we oversee, and we have a team there and stuff, one of our core values there is fun, and we try to portray that as best as possible. And I think that you definitely, whether you know it or not, fun is 100% one of your core values.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always say to people, we obviously have to be very professional, but it's good to have a lot of fun too. I mean, when I've went to several businesses, and you went and sat in the boardroom or whatever, waited for the the director or whoever to come down, and they would quite often come in and say, I was expecting you to be doing a handstand or doing roly-poly here, but obviously when it comes down to business and you want to get, for example, the on-hold messaging service done through Jam Media, we're very professional about it. I absolutely love this stuff. I dream it and eat it and sleep it, and it's really good because I absolutely enjoy it. But there's obviously the very professional side of it. I mean, even this morning there, before I come on Muse, I was sorting out a lot of stuff for one of our hospitals here in Northern Ireland, which is obviously, they're doing a fantastic job at the minute, saving lives.
Yeah.
So even a hospital, even though one of the directors there came to me, they could see obviously I was up for a bit of crack, but knew that obviously I was providing a very professional service. And when you sit with these guys, you do go through everything the way you should, and we make sure everything's done specifically to their needs. And there is a time and a place, as I say, for most things, and there is a time and a place to have that fun and rake about and mess about. But there's also the time to be very professional and get the job done that needs done. And that's, I've no doubt that my service is second to nobody's, because I'm just always on the ball. I want to make sure everybody's happy. I want to keep that good reputation of providing a good service. Now, if people think that, I've no problem with people thinking he's a lunatic, because they don't like what I do in terms of marketing or putting himself across in LinkedIn or at events, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. If you don't like how I come across, that's fine. But what I would worry about is if you didn't think that I was providing a very professional service and the job wasn't being done right, because that's obviously the main thing here, is to provide a professional service and to build relationships. So you need to obviously, there's a fine line there. Whether I come over that fine line sometimes is debatable for some people, but that's fine. That's
but absolutely.
No, I mean, from our perspective, I think what you do works so well. I mean, there's nothing to me comes across. I know it is perspective. Different people view it in different ways. But
absolutely, yeah.
Anytime I ever seen your video, I never assumed at any point he's unprofessional. You just see it as a bit of fun, and I think the two work really, really well. There's no reason why you can't be professional and enjoy yourself. I mean, why would you not want to do that? There's no point in being professional and not enjoying what you do. But what is the point in that? Why would you want to be part of that? And that's one of the things that, as JP said, we try to push other people get into organizations, because see, if you're not enjoying what you do, you don't stay there. So if the organization doesn't put across that they enjoy what they do and they want their people to be there, and the people don't enjoy being there, they don't stay. And that's why you have high turnover rates, and that's what happens, unfortunately, in a lot of organizations. But it's the ones the people who have people staying there for a long time, you can tell they all love what they do, and that's what.
But it's also true that there's multiple values. Sorry, I'm cutting across you there, Aaron, but they're just to make that point before you go on.
Don't do it again.
I was going to say, what would you shut up?
You can actually, do you know what I mean? Like, for instance, I mentioned values, right? You can have multiple values. There's nothing wrong with being somebody who's up for a laugh and using a platform that can portray you in one light doesn't mean that you can't have the professional end in the background. I mean, as I said, Odyssey Bowl, for instance, one of the core values is fun, but for the same measure, one of the values is innovation, and that means that we're constantly trying to think of new things, new ways of doing things, and better ways of providing a service and product to our customers. So it's fine for, as far as I'm concerned. We are made up of many different things. We have different parts of our personality. Sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're happy. For the same measure, sometimes we can go on and do a bit of a funny skit video, but then sometimes we can make a really, really important message. And as you said earlier there, you do make really important messages. And I think that at a time where it's a very uncertain time, and I think that your content is something that we could look forward to sometimes. I think, especially myself, I think there was days where I was sort of jumping on and looking at your content. It was giving me a bit of a laugh, when many other pieces of content online, maybe 99% of the content online wasn't giving me a laugh. It was very serious and somber, and rightly so to an extent, but it's still nice to have somebody who's willing to put it out there and just go, do you know what? I'm professional. I'm the best at what I do. You know what? I'm here to show who I am, because you're doing everything in the organization. It's you, and I know that you have obviously you have new ventures and stuff now, but for the last sort of more than 10 years you've been doing what you've been doing. It's been you're the one-man band, and you've been extremely successful. I think it's easy for people to overlook that part.
I think a perfect example is, so I'm going to cut over you now, shut you off for a second. I think a perfect example is, like, see the stuff that you do with Friends of Cancer Centre, like that whole campaign, Talking Balls. I mean, even the name of it, first off, it sparks a bit of it gets attention and it's a bit of fun, but there's obviously something so serious behind that, and for you personally, obviously as well. But what was sticking in my mind by that is when you get up to talk at Gary Dockery's Think Network event, you talk about this, you made that fun and engaging, but with a very serious message behind it, obviously, and you've done so well doing that for Friends at Cancer Centre. I know obviously they appreciate so much the work that you've done, and getting into the papers and doing everything you've done, like that's all come through you being you and building your brand, and now you're giving back to other people with it. So like there's so many positives that come through that from just being yourself. I think was the main thing that shone through that.
Yeah, what's really cool there is, you just said something there that I spoke to my wife about loads of times, and she spoke to me about when we first got in touch with Friends at the Cancer Centre.
Yeah.
And you said there about giving back, and when I was diagnosed with cancer 18 years ago, once I had all my treatments and my CT scans, and you're always running out of the hospital. You don't want to look back. You just want to get out, forget about it. So as I've got a bit older, I was sort of thought, I would like to try and give something back here. So what can we do to give a bit back? Now, I have said many a time, it's not all just about fundraising. It's for me, it's personally about trying to raise the profile of testicular cancer and to check yourself, and obviously to try and encourage people to check with their GP or check even with Friends of the Cancer Centre, because these guys work within the cancer centre. So it's really, I feel now that I am giving back, because those guys in the NHS, Dr. McAleer and his team within the cancer centre or Belfast City Hospital, saved my life. So, it is good to give back, even though sometimes you think it might only be small. But I know for definite, without doubt, we've raised awareness together with Friends of the Cancer Centre, probably 2 million of people, without doubt,
100%.
with social media, newspapers, radio ads, at events, So I feel that I am giving back, and that was my goal, to try and to give back and to raise that awareness. If there's people in Northern Ireland that haven't heard about testicular cancer in the last year now, I mean, they're not lifting the paper, they're not listening to the radio, they're not looking on social media, So I think we've done what, still want to do more. Obviously with lockdown, we're limited, but it's good to hear people say that, you feel like you can give back, because that was the goal. That was what we wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to try and give back for saving my life, basically. So
yeah, and do you know what? That's. Sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll let you talk this time.
This time?
Just you wait till we stop recording. I think that the word culture, right? So we keep saying the word culture, but it's everything that Culture Talks is about. But these are all relevant topics within it, and I think that Brandon, while very firmly in the area of marketing, it still gives you a wee window into what the personality of the organization is, and more importantly, the people. And in this case, I think there's a story that you like. We've heard you speaking on both occasions that you've spoken at Think Network events with Gary Dockery. We plugged there for you, Gary. And I think that when because we got to know you and we get on really well with you, and you're brilliant crack and you're always up for a laugh, but at the same time really genuinely respect what you do. And then whenever you start giving a bloody bit of background into your personal story, and we'll not go into it obviously, but and then you're near making us all bloody cry, and I was going, what is he doing to me here? Like I was going, I'm gonna kill him. Like this is awful. But at the same time, you highlighted it was about resilience at that time, and I remember, and self-belief, and for the second one, I believe. But for me, there is no one size fits all, and what I think you've been able to achieve through your platform, because you're very clearly somebody who stands out in the industry and in Northern Ireland and further afield. But what Friends of the Cancer Centre have been able to benefit from, just like you were able to benefit from them, giving back, they've been able to benefit from the platform that you've been able to give them. I'm sure that there's no doubt that millions of pounds could have been raised by now just through trickle, based on, I mean, it got us on board. Friends of the Cancer Centre is close to myself and Sean's heart, because we've both had people we love who have had to use that service as well. And I think that it's a perfect example of when you use your brand to open the window a little bit about what your true values are, and what you're about and what you want to achieve. And I think that that's a very, very noble cause, and I think that there's much you can do as part of your culture to benefit other people. Because again, just bringing it back to culture, and Sean, I know you're going to cut me off here, but the point I'm making is people might look at this and go, well, what's branding got to do with culture? Well, your brand is what you're about, and that means what's your personality. And culture is an umbrella term for all those things. So well-being, branding, everything that goes on in the organization comes under the culture. It's the feeling, it's that unspoken word. And for me, without a second thought, I know that you're somebody who is fantastically professional at what you do, but you're a wholehearted, honest guy. I'm delighted that we can call you a friend, genuinely, because and almost in terms of the stuff that you do, a wee bit of a mentor for us, because you've been in the game in terms of running your own business a lot longer than we have, and just hearing some of the stories. Or I remember myself and you had a very long conversation before we went up to Stroke City, Derry Londonderry, and when you were talking the second time, if you remember, and you were giving me some insight into the new changes that were happening in your professional life, and I was just blown away. And I remember being so inspired before you even got up to listen to the inspiring talk that you had. So yeah, but I think we could go on for ages here. Sean, is there anything else you wanted to?
I think we could.
Yeah. I could, definitely. I just think that there's very few times you can have a perfect example of somebody who genuinely shows off what they're all about, and you're the perfect example of that, Aaron. I think that
Yeah, well, if you believe in what you do, there's quite a lot of talented people out there, but they don't shout from it. And I know people go, well, you don't need to shout about it. If you're good at what you do, people will find out. But you need to tell people Northern Ireland's a small place and it's a crowded place.
Yeah.
And you can't just go, well, I'm really talented. I don't need to shout about it. I think if you're talented and you believe that what you provide is a great service or a great whatever, a great business, you need to tell people about it.
Yeah.
That's what social media is for. You've got to make yourself visible. So I don't agree with that quote that people will quite often say, if you're really good at what you do, you shouldn't need to shout about it, because it's a crowded market, and more so than ever now, with obviously this COVID-19 and lockdown, and nobody knows what the future's going to hold. Nobody does. It's random times, so more than ever you need to be visible. And I've said this before, it doesn't need to be, you don't put your eggs all in the one basket. I have various avenues there, with a website, going to events in Northern Ireland, speaking at events, using LinkedIn, engaging with people, so there's other platforms like Instagram that people may use. And so if you want to make yourself visible here in Northern Ireland, try and pick out those, there's lots of different avenues, but what I do is I pick different things that I think will work for me. So what works for me, as I said earlier, won't necessarily work for everybody, but I'll use my website. I've done email marketing campaigns as well before, but obviously use LinkedIn, go to events, because quite often then you meet these people that you would maybe see online. If somebody asks you to speak at an event, don't say no the way I did. Do it, because again, it's another way of putting yourself out there. And also, quite often people say, your talk really helped you, or helped me, or it did this or it did that. But quite often as well, you'll find if you do go and do that talk, or it'll help yourself as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just, don't be scared of what other people may or may not think. Again, I've done all that myself. I didn't just whack up on LinkedIn and go, here, yes. You go through a journey to get there, you're knocking down doors. I'm still knocking down doors, trying to. It's not.
Absolutely.
It's not that I am invincible, and I'm far from it. There's so much I still need to learn. And in fact, I had a conversation with someone this week, and I've asked to come in. Can I watch some of the Zoom meal recordings and things? And there's definitely things I can learn from him.
Yeah.
There's so much more I need to learn. I've actually learned that this year, that I need to learn more.
Yeah.
You don't know
Um,
what you don't know until you know it.
exactly. So I'm nowhere near. There's guys out there that can sell better than me, that can do business better than me. Clearly, there's guys out there, massive businesses and making
Yeah.
absolute fortune. But so there's so much I need to learn still, and it's just a constant journey. I mean, I'll still be probably learning, obviously, even when I retire. So,
Yeah.
but the main thing is to try and learn and to try and pick up on these things. And I think probably before I wouldn't say before that I thought I knew it all, but I think sometimes you can come to a place and think, right, well, I've learned it all, know it all. I mean, I can record, edit, I could do all these things with my eyes closed, but I'm still learning things now. I want to learn things about green screens. I want to learn things about camera. I want to learn more
You got
about
your new tack and all in there.
yeah, no, but you just got to continue to just to try and learn and innovate, don't you? So
Yeah.
certainly I'm nowhere near the finished article. And a lot of people will be really, really sad to hear that because they'll not know what the hell I'm gonna do.
There's more to come. Breaking news, there's more to come. Warren, obviously your videos are famous now on LinkedIn. What's the secret?
I don't think there's any real secret. Most things are. I have lots of stuff buzzing around my head, so most things are very spontaneous. There's very few that are sort of strategically planned out, unless it is a specific message about on hold audio, because sometimes I would put on before and afters and give examples. But in general, most of my videos are fairly spontaneous. In fact, if you're I was going to say if you're clever enough, but that's maybe not the right thing to say. But you'll notice, you should notice that most of my videos are depending on what's happening that day, especially during lockdown. So, for example, I put the face mask and the hat and the gloves and all on, got into my car and on my way down to the Spar, and when they were talking about furlough, was hanging bread out on the washing line, saying we're not on the bread line yet, and things like that. So quite often, it really does just, so I don't really know even what today's news is yet. So depending on what today's news is, can often depend on what today's video is.
Aaron, I can tell you what today's news is. Today's news is you had the pleasure of sitting with us for the past whatever amount of time it was. So I got a video on that.
Well, this morning's call has been very good. I must say, I'm sitting here looking at quite a large monitor and sitting talking to JP. At one point, I thought I was watching something about Mary, with that big whip at the front. But we all know why that happened. And something about Mary, so I'm pretty sure and hopeful that that's not the situation when JP's been sitting talking to me,
Just so excited to see you, Aaron. That's what it is.
When you're good, you're good.
So now that's not business related, of course, but
you're speaking. Seems like business to me.
It's not the business I want to be into, I can tell you.
So what about a lockdown video with us on it? That's the only way we can get us on it. Be spontaneous video now.
Lockdown video, what could we talk about? Well, we do look like the Three Musketeers. The Three Musketeers can sort out your business, whether it be with building relationships and improving your culture, and of course.
No, like video it.
Video it.
Video yourself.
Listen,
you want him to record the recording?
Aye.
So do you want me to do this?
I want this on LinkedIn later on.
That's an interesting angle. I didn't think of it.
We're talking about Brandon. We want Brandon too.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
I don't really know. Now I've been put in the spot. Kind of like,
He does to me all the time, Aaron. Don't worry, for God's sake. It's a lot of.
So guys, here we are. We have JP and we have Sean. What's up?
I thought you forgot my name.
To be honest, I was just trying to think of something to say here, so I'm going to hit stop.
Lord.
Right, fair enough. Let's get that one back from there.
No, fuck, I don't know. Sorry,
Good.
my language. Alright.
Too much on the spot, that one.
Edit
All stays, all stays. All right, last question I always ask everybody, what's your vision?
Vision is literally to continue to improve, to be Northern Ireland's #1 voiceover, to continue to be, to try and take myself up as many levels as I can, to build relationships, to make Jam Media a successful business, providing on-hold telephone messaging service to businesses all across Ireland and the UK, Northern Ireland, the UK, and just to continue to be the best that I can be, and just to try and learn more as well. Always try and learn new things each day, and to just embrace our Northern Irish culture, I think, and to shout about our wee country. Just to embrace life and grab it by the balls.
Talking balls.
As probably most people in Northern Ireland know now, I don't have a set of balls, so I often think that I'm entitled to say that I should grow a set of balls, But yeah, it is really to just grab things by the balls and move forward, and also to continue to raise awareness for testicular cancer.
Absolutely.
Supporting guys at the Friends of the Cancer Centre.
Yeah, amazing. And of course, I've absolutely no doubt you're going to become even more successful than you are now, and you deserve it. Deserve everything you've built yourself, and more to come. So, Aaron, thank you very much for coming on and chatting to us today.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Really appreciate it.
Good fun as always. I expect nothing else.
Keep her lit. Remember, our wee country.
I appreciate it, mate. That's us for today. Guys, thank you all very much. Remember, your people, engage, enable, and empower.